Step number 4, part 1. Readjust volume. By spectral mixing, you actually modified also the volumes of the different instruments. So readjust the volumes to your liking and keep an eye on the view meters. Make sure that you leave at least 3 dB headroom on each track and also on the master bus. Step number 4, part 2. The pan mix. Panning corresponds to placing the instruments in the stereo space. Like this, the listener can identify where each instrument is located. A tip: make sure that the bass and the kick remain in the center unless you want to make a special effect. The lead instrument or lead vocal should also be around the middle. Step 5. Mastering. Mastering is a process of preparing your track for distribution. When you're at this stage, your mix should already sound pretty good. I personally do not do this step in Reason. I use a specific program for that. I find the mastering tools offered in Reason to be kind of limited. However, some rack extensions, which I talk about in section 4, can do quite a good job. To master your track in Reason, carry out the following steps, in order. In the main bus, insert an EQ to color your track to your liking. To be truthful, it's actually a first step that I do in Reason. I use the soft tube Trident A-Range EQ. It's an amazing EQ to give some color to your music. For this course, for which I limited myself to only use the modules which are in the Reasons package, I inserted the Reasons Masterclass EQ. Then if you wish, you can add a light reverb for ambience and also to glue your track even more. But be careful that it doesn't clash with those you might have on individual tracks. I actually do this sometimes in Reason with the SAR1 rack extension, which I find very good for this kind of job. For this course, I use the RV7000 MK2 module, which is included in the Reason package. Next step, add a little compression to glue your track together. In our little track, I use the global compressor of the mixing table. Normally, I use a VST multiband compressor for this job. There is no modules that do this within the Reason package, but there is a rack extension that can play this role. But I've never tried it, so I cannot really comment. The last stage is maximizing your track, which allows you to participate in the loudness wars. In Reason, you need a rack extension for that. You have, for example, Ozon's Maximizer, which does a pretty good job. But be careful not to abuse from it, as it can change the nature and feel of your sound. And now, the best part. The super tips I learned along the way. Tip number 1. You are getting crazy. You cannot manage to get the mix right. So, after having rested your ears and calmed down, try spectral mixing your track in mono. And when you're done, go back to stereo. You'll be surprised. Tip number 2. Compare your mix with a reference. Use a track you like in a similar style than your music and use it as reference. Import it in your Reason file on an audio track, solo that track from time to time, and listen to your reference for comparison with your own mix, and this during the mixing process. Tip number 3. Don't be impatient. A mix may take as long as producing the track itself in terms of time, not in terms of work. When I mix a track, I sometimes have to come back to it many times. Just 20-minute sessions, you know. But these sessions are separated by hours or even days. So, finish your track tomorrow. Tip number 4. You have been working on this song for hours and hours. You have lost objectivity. Ask for honest feedback from other musician friends. And be objective, you know. Truly listen to what they say to you. Tip number 5. Never, ever use headphones to mix or master. Headphones are much too flattering, much more flattering than speakers. On the other hand, when you get a good mix on speakers, it usually sounds amazing in headphones. Tip number 6. About the speakers. Make sure the ones you use have quite a flat spectral response and are neutral. And also, test your mix on multiple systems like your car stereo, a boombox, computer speakers, or even an iPhone. Yeah. And tip number 7. Yep. And this is actually the most crucial one. Take care of your ears. Your ears are your most precious friends, but also the most fragile. Do not play, listen, or mix music too loud and for long periods of time. When you go to discos or concerts, make sure you have earplugs with you. Good earplugs cost around $20 and are quite musical. They've got little filters in it and it works quite well. I use them all the time. Think about it. You really do not want to break your ears. Et voilà. I hope this was useful to you guys. So happy mixes to all and bye.